Good morning, everybody, wherever you are in the world. Hope you're having a great day, and I hope you have a fantastic weekend. But still, you're not here to listen to me talk about your weekends. Maybe you are. You're here to hear me talk about what's going on in the mixed martial arts world. So let's have a look. Let's go to MMA Junkie, because there's lots of stories, and we've got fights tonight. I'm going to break them down. I'm going to give a prediction. I'm going to look at a couple of news stories real quick. So, MMA Junkie, let's take a look. Dustin Poirier discusses the same costly mistake that he and Justin Gaethje made versus Charles Oliveira. Santiago Ponzinibbio. I've got to look at this screen for quite some time because I need to know which way do we go? Which story do we click on? Dustin Poirier has been talking. He was on Teddy Atlas's podcast, and he was saying that he made the same mistake that Justin Gaethje made. And they're talking about predominantly not following Oliveira down to the ground, because what happened is, we know they both dropped him, right? He said, talking to Dustin Poirier, talking to Teddy Atlas, he said that Gaethje, I think he should have followed him up. He should have followed him down to the ground, got on top, tried to finish the fight, find out how hurt Charles really was. There's only one way to find out. You got to dive in. Then he goes on to say that I did the same thing with me. Of course, you have to respect jiu-jitsu. Poirier said, I've been doing jiu-jitsu forever. I'm a black belt as well, compete with and train with the best guys in the world. I'm confident and I have good jiu-jitsu. I just respected his too much and I didn't engage. The plan was to, by any means, stay off the ground and don't play with jiu-jitsu at all with that man. Listen, of course, I get it. Everything's hindsight in 2020. There's so many situations, so many fights that I had. When you look back, you think, I should have done this. But in the heat of battle, when the adrenaline's flowing, when the fists are flying, sometimes you make mistakes, okay? And that's what happened there. Listen, when you fight somebody like Charles Oliveira, the man that has the most submissions in the history of the UFC, of course, the game plan is going to be avoid the ground. It is, of course. It seems like an obvious game plan, but also if you have your man hurt, of course, in hindsight, it's easy to think you should have went down. And I think Gaethje should have done, but I'm not here I'm not criticizing him, because I potentially would have done the same thing. As I say, hindsight, everything's 2020. You make the perfect decisions every time because you saw how it unfolded. Gaethje, I thought I dropped him, I had him hurt, let him back up, I'll drop him again, and I'll continue to do so until he's out of the fight. But hey, it is what it is. C'est la vie, baby. But, because if you look back, Oliveira has been finished on the ground. Look at what Paul Felder did. The Iron Lung himself went down there, got in the guard, elbow, finished him with elbows. So anyway, there you go. Don't beat yourself up, Dustin, although it does hurt. It does hurt a lot, when you watch back fights that you took part of and you didn't get the job done. You thought, I was doing really good. I could have done better, but, shoulda, woulda, coulda, let's be honest.
Shoulda, coulda, woulda.
What else do we have? Tyson advises Conor McGregor on how to build his confidence back. Well, I'll never be one to argue with Iron Mike, but I don't think Conor McGregor needs help with his confidence. I'll just start with that. He's a very confident individual. But Mike Tyson went on to say he was talking to Henry Cejudo on a podcast, and he said after a defeat, you got to have a couple of fights to get your feet wet. Tyson told Henry Cejudo on the Fight Card podcast. Cejudo suggested that McGregor fight the skidding Tony Ferguson, who was able to drop Michael Chandler early before ultimately getting knocked out. MMA Junkie's words, not mine. And Tyson said, well, that's a tough fight. Tyson said, he's a warrior, regardless of the losses, talking about Tony. He makes exciting fights. It's hard to beat that guy. No big-time guy. Let him get 3 fights and build his confidence back up. Every fight, the opponent goes to a higher level. And I understand what Mike's talking about there. Of course, you lose a fight, you lose a couple of fights, you lose 3 out of your last 4, and certainly in the last fight that you had, you snap your leg, which was a gruesome injury, and you're having time away from the Octagon. Then, of course, the narrative that perhaps you should have a tune-up fight, a warm-up fight, a build your confidence back fight, that makes sense. And we see that in boxing a lot, However, the circumstances with McGregor right now, it's a risky one because, Tyson said, have 2 or 3 fights before you go into a big fight like that. But the thing is, there's a risk and there's a reward, okay? Because if McGregor goes in against lower ranked guys, fights that, he should win, let's be honest, you never know. These are tough guys. Is McGregor on the slide? We don't know. It's certainly the form isn't what it was at one stage. And if he goes into a tune-up fight, there's no gimmies. There's no guarantees in the fight game. And if he loses to them, then it's even worse than if he was to go in, let's say, against the champ, Charles Oliveira. You go up against the champ, Charles Oliveira, you get beeps. Ah, well, so what? No big deal. Everybody's losing to him right now. Charles Oliveira is the man. However, he loses to someone ranked down the pecking order, ranked 5, 6, 7, something like that. Then, of course, now it's a very, very different conversation that's taking place. So still, I understand Iron Mike's point, and I would never argue with Mike Tyson. I'm not an idiot, certainly not on a plane. But yeah, I think Conor should just go for the biggest fight possible, in my humble opinion, because we don't know how many he's got left. And then, last but not least, let's get into this one. Tonight, there is big fights going down. We have a fight card going down at the Apex, and in the main event, we have Jairzinho, Biggie Boy, pardon me. Jairzinho, Biggie Boy, Rosenstruck taking on Alexander Volkov. Now, last time we saw Volkov, it was against Tom Aspinall back on March 16th in London. Didn't go his way. Tom Aspinall was just way too much for him on that night. I don't think anybody would have beaten Tom Aspinall that night. He looked absolutely phenomenal. But Volkov's no walk in the park for anybody. He's a very, very tough man. He's a big guy, absolutely gigantic, in fact. And if we look at his record here, if I can finally bloody get to it, 34 wins, 10 losses. And I think one of the only times he was stopped, he's been stopped twice. By knockout. He's been submitted 3 times. So still, Tom Aspinall went out there 3 minutes 45, dismantled him. But Volkov, listen, he's not a man to be taken lightly. Last time out, before that, beat Marcin Tybura. He's beat Alistair Overeem. He's beat Will Harris. He's a big guy. He's a great striker. He's got excellent karate, and he knows how to use his length. However, he's going to need to know how to use that, because going up against Jairzinho Rosenstruck, former kickboxer himself, with ridiculous knockout power, he's got to be careful. He's got to be careful. Now listen, Biggie Boy's struggled a little bit himself, and I say that with respect. I would never talk bad about an opponent. Certainly people that step in the octagon and lay it all on the line. And certainly somebody with this kind of knockout power, Biggie Boy, I'm not talking shit. 12-3, right? All of his wins, 11 wins by knockout, 1 by decision. Lost to Curtis Blades last time by decision. Curtis Blades is a beast, and he's incidentally fighting Tom Aspinall. Lost to beat Augusto Sakai, beat Junior Dos Santos, of course lost to Ngannou, beat Alistair Overeem, Andrei Arlovsky, Alan Crowder, Junior Albini. Now, how does this fight go down? Well, listen, they're both strikers, so we ain't going to see no wrestling, that's for damn sure. So it's going to be an entertaining fight. Volkov, he's going to have to use the reach advantage that he has. Beautiful front kicks as well to the midsection. That helps keep people at bay. The jabs will keep Jairzinho at bay as well. So what Volkov has to do to win this fight, use the jabs, use the front kicks, follow up with the 1-2, the right hands after the jabs when he finds the time, when he's got the rhythm, when he's starting to break Jairzinho down, when he's starting to frustrate Jairzinho. And Volkov has to use that octagon. He has to dance around and use the footwork, circular movement. Don't allow himself to get backed up against the fence. Now on the flip side, Jairzinho, it's go forward. Cut off the cage. Back him up against the fence. Corral him against the fence. Reason being is, when you back him up against the fence, they cannot back up any further, okay? You can't go through a fence, okay? Simple as that. And yeah, I know, I'm an idiot. But you can't. You back them up, they've got nowhere to run, nowhere to hide, okay? And then for Jairzinho, he's got him trapped up against the fence. And also, that mitigates the reach advantage that Volkov has. He can slip the shots, get on the inside, and then it's go to town time. Go to work with those massive shots that Biggie Boy has. Prediction, how do I see this one going down? Hard one to call. Both guys have had some ups and downs, but I think Jairzinho gets the job done. He's going to cut the cage off, just like I said. I feel like the forward pressure will be too much. But sometimes, the only thing that makes me not too confident in that prediction, sometimes Biggie Boy, as DC would say, takes pictures. He kind of stands there and he waits for the perfect opening. If he waits for the perfect opening, he's going to get his head jabbed off, he's going to get his stomach kicked to death, and he's going to get right hands all day long. But still, my prediction is Jairzinho Rosenstruck by way of knockout. The knockout power that he possesses is ridiculous. He's very experienced. He's been in there with some of the best in the world, as has Volkov, but it only takes one shot off the Biggie Boy. Jairzinho Rosenstruck, fighting out of Southern Army, in my humble opinion, gets the job done tomorrow night. I'll be watching on the couch. And I won't be watching with a beer in my hand because I'm on a diet. You know what I mean? You know, I want to lose a few pounds. Anyway, hope you're all well. Enjoy the fights. Enjoy your weekend. And I'll see you again soon.